So Dre and I were actually texting, I want to say yesterday or the day before, but we actually talked about, with it being midway through the season, just kind of talking about where we thought Michigan would be at this point in the season, kind of our preseason predictions and see where we missed, where we hit, and kind of go from there. So Dre, I will kick it to you first, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, look, Michigan's already, matched, you know, my preseason, prediction. I believe I picked 5-7, 6-6, somewhere in that range. I thought we would lose to Washington. I thought we would struggle earlier in the season, just based on how last year's gone and the trend of the program and all the changes that we made, especially from the coaching staff and schematics on the defensive side of the ball. But that has gone incredibly smooth. Mike McDaniel has come on campus. He's gotten those guys to believe in what he does, what he's trying to do. First, to change from a 4-3 to a 3-4 scheme, it's very difficult, especially if you don't necessarily have the right personnel on campus to do their roles, right? But he's been able to do that, and it helps to have freaks of nature like Aiden Hutchinson um, that can help spearhead your defense. But he's done a fantastic job. I think uh, Cade has definitely not been perfect, but he has been steady. I think that's the best word to describe. He's been steady. He has steadied the quarterback position. He has limited turnovers, albeit not having a lot of explosive plays on the field, but he has limited turnovers. Had his first interception of the season, uh, I believe so, on Saturday night against Nebraska. At least it was, I think it was 170 pass attempts they showed right before he threw his interception, actually.
It's always
It's,
always a
it's always
jinx.
like that,
Don't
right?
Please don't show that. Please
I
don't
know
show
it's
that.
always like that, right? I knew it was coming too. Once they showed that, um, so I think that the main takeaway I have that's really shocked me, and I think that's led to such a difference between my prediction and where they are, is just how steady they are on both sides of the ball. They don't do anything really fantastic. I have some stats here. Like um, the only top 10 ranking stat that Michigan has, if you look at, passing yards, rushing yards on offense, including receiving yards, or even sacks, interceptions um, on the defensive side of the ball, they're only the top 10 in rushing yards. Everything else, like for example, on defense, you would think with Aiden Hutchinson, they should be top 20, top 10 in sacks. They are 49th in the country. It's not like they're wrecking that much havoc, but it seems like it, right?
Hmm.
On the offensive side of the ball, you know, nowhere near in the top 50 in passing yards, but they're eighth in rushing. So I mean, like it's they're steady. They don't beat themselves. And you got to give Jim Harbaugh credit because there was a lot of shakiness in the program the last couple of years. I mean, there were some people that didn't think he would be extended. I mean, his extension happened very late.
Hmm.
Um, he had a pay decrease, and pretty much his buyout is essentially nothing if Michigan wanted to move on. And they came to the season with a lot of pressure, and so far they've handled it pretty well.
Yeah, and I think that takes a lot of humility to do that. To take a decrease. And I think they cut a salary in half if I'm remembering it
Pretty
correctly.
close
So
to it, yeah.
you're taking a 50% pay decrease and still expected to do as far as the ins and outs of the job. Like you're still expected to do the same thing, right? Like the result of the game, you have some control over it as a coach, but overall, like not a huge amount of control over the result of the game. But still, you're before the preparation you have from Sunday to Friday or to Saturday morning is all the same, no matter how much you're getting paid. So to have the humility for Jim Harbaugh, to accept that and really just dive in and go all in with what he's doing with the program, having faith in Gaddis, and whether it's giving up more control, taking back more control, whatever that dynamic is, and then bringing in Mike McDonald, who has done a phenomenal job. Like, and I know just read the stats, but I still think overall with the impact that that defense has, because I look at a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, who, we talked to Greg last week, that was the one player that he was concerned without a doubt,
Mhm.
going into the Nebraska-Michigan game, because that guy's borderline unblockable. So, and it's not always, the quarterback sacks. A lot of times it's the pressures,
Hurries.
it's
Yeah.
exactly because those are the things that'll get a quarterback into trouble, and, him rushing a decision. Um, so I think they've had a really big impact, and I thought the defense would improve because quite simply, I'm just not a Don Brown fan. I just thought he
Right.
was
One
pretty
trick
bad
pony.
as a defensive coordinator. Correct. I thought when he's playing Northern Illinois, you're going to look like the best defense known to man. But when he plays Ohio State, you're going to think he's a middle school defensive coordinator. Like that. That's what I thought of Don Brown. Sure, he's a sweet guy. He has a great mustache, but I just thought just having a different philosophy of getting out of the man-to-man, because there's just not many teams that do that because of the level of athlete that you see, in college football today. Like the receivers nowadays, I mean, are crazy. As far as what these guys are, their size, how fast they are, how quick they are. So I thought that the defense would be better. My one concern coming into this season was going to be how they managed Cade and the passing game. And had you told me that, Cade would have the number of pass attempts, which I think he was in the 60s or 70s going into that Wisconsin game, if you'd have told me that before the season started, I would have told you that you're probably going to lose that game. So I was definitely wrong there. I think I had Michigan at like a 8-4. I had them losing
Is it that
to, I want to say
optimistic?
maybe
Okay.
I believe so. I may have been 7-5,
No.
7-5 to 8-4 because I
Is
had
it
them beating Washington. You did not. You said you
right?
thought
No,
they
I
would lose to
didn't.
Washington. I thought they'd beat them. I didn't think Washington would really be a test for them. I thought it would be, maybe a tough game, but I thought they'd
Right.
win. But nonetheless, I was maybe the floor 7-5, closer to like 8-4. But I thought, Penn State, Ohio State, I thought those games would be losses, and they still have some pretty tough games ahead of them. But as long as they just keep building, I mean, they're going to be in really good shape. Michigan State, that's going to be a heck of a Halloween game in a couple weeks. So I'm
Can't
excited to
wait.
see that. But I mean, if before the season started, if we would have said, hey, would you take 6-0 going into the bye week? I don't. It did. I don't think it mattered how it looked. If that was the option, I think everybody would have taken that. Any Michigan fan, especially coming off of what last year looked like and the results. So, they're in a great spot. They're in a great spot. So, Mark, what about yourself?
I really don't know that I thought Michigan was going to be any better or worse than what they are right now, but I guess I thought a couple opponents were going to be better. So as I go game by game, I think I would have had them at 3-2 at this point, actually, or 4-2 at this point, actually, because I thought they were going to lose at Wisconsin. And I can't remember, but I believe that I had them losing to Washington. So, but not because I thought Michigan was going to be worse than what they are or substantially worse. I got to say that they're a little bit better than I anticipated, but it was more about those two other teams not being close to what I thought they were going to be.